Hey everybody, it's Dick here. Today I'm on Suzuki's SV650 as per a viewer request. It is a 645cc fuel-injected, liquid-cooled 90-degree V-twin. It has a 6-speed transmission and is chain-driven. The SV650 has what's called the low RPM assist. According to Suzuki, it is an idle speed control that helps boost engine RPM in launching operation or running at low speeds. I discovered this system while on my test ride and was baffled by it. The SV650 remains pretty much unchanged since its launch in 1999, other than some technological and emissions improvements. It is insanely inexpensive at £5,700. In almost an FU to the rest of the industry, Suzuki has not offered a heritage or neo-heritage bike in its stable in response to all of the other manufacturers. It's simply offering the SV650 as its consistent and tried and true quasi-cafe naked sport light midweight. The trellis frame and the 90-degree V-twin is reminiscent of the Ducati Monster, which Suzuki would be hard-pressed to deny it was trying to copy or at least quote. There are some interesting design elements here that draw the eye in, but unfortunately once you're in, you're put off by some of the finer details. The tightly stretched, springy seat material is one example, which seems very vulnerable to puncture or tears. I've never been particularly drawn to Suzuki's, and one of the reasons are the exhaust webs that happen underneath their bikes. They don't seem to give the same sort of aesthetic considerations to their exhaust systems that other companies seem to. I seem to be getting an abundance of complaints rather than requests for engine and exhaust notes to be recorded on my videos, so this is for those people who enjoy that sort of thing. Hey everybody, it's Dick here. Today I'm on the Suzuki SV650. I have to admit this is my first Suzuki that I've ever ridden on. And it's like what I was saying in my KTM video. It's the first Suzuki I've ever been on because I've never had the opportunity to ride on a Suzuki. This display is really nice. In the sun it's really visible. It's not shiny. It has kind of a curve and a tint to it that reduces that glare that these new heads-up displays have with these flat bits of reflective glass. It has a gear indicator, which in my old age I'm getting more and more interested in. It has a heat indicator, a clock, fuel gauge with range, a couple of other interesting bits. It has a tachometer here that's digital. Looks like red lines, 10,000 RPM. I really like that display. I don't like the shape of it. It's kind of a weird, kind of Batman-y shape, but the actual usability and functionality of it is really good. I stopped here because I wanted you to see how this clutch is working. So my hand's not on the throttle. If I just let out the clutch, you can see the bike's creeping forward like that. The clutch is maybe 3 or 4 centimeters. It catches from the handlebar, from the grip, and there's just, the engine's just pulling. I mean, no gas, 6 miles an hour, 7 miles an hour. It's just fueling itself. I'm not stalling at all. 7 miles an hour, no gas, and I'm not stalling. And then it just pulls. This bike is actually behaving a lot like a inline 4, not a V-twin. It's an interesting little feature. It took a little getting used to start with. The way it's tuned, it's just pulling right off the bat. This is a stock length clutch lever here, but because of the way that these handlebars are pulled back towards me, when I pull the lever in, my pinky drops off the end of it. It actually feels like a short or stubby clutch lever, but it's actually a long one, and it's kind of a weird pull. It's really far away there when it's all the way open. Seat material's weird. My Kevlar jeans here are sticking to the seat, so instead of me being able to slide into different positions, I'm stuck in one spot, and I feel like I'm pulling against the material. It's almost like I'm Velcroed to the seat. Took a little getting used to where this clutch catch is and the fact that it's pulling without acceleration. But now that I've gotten the hang of it, it makes it really spry through the stop and go traffic. Seat height is good. My feet are planted flat on the ground. I don't know if you can see. But I'm having that same issue I had with the Interceptor. Not as bad, but the foot peg position is right just a little far. If I move my calves back, I'll catch my calves on it. It's not exactly where the Interceptor was, but I could catch it if I wasn't aware. And that just pulls. The 650 is nice. It's got a nice twin sound to it too. No, sun's right over my shoulder, shining right down on that display, and the display is clear as day. Oh, it's really, really punchy. And I got dual discs in the front. Dual discs at the front. Filtering. That was a nice wide spot, but felt really comfortable and balanced going into it. I was just saying, first time on a Suzuki, there was never any Suzuki dealers near me that were convenient. One just opened up near me, and I saw them at the London Motorcycle Show. And also I've gotten a request to ride the SV650 specifically from a couple of my viewers. And because of that request, I went looking. I was prepared to be inconvenienced to go try one out because of the request, but I was happy that there was one convenient to me. And I'll say, I think I've been missing out. I've spent the last 20 odd years riding motorcycles and really missing a huge, wonderful segment of it. Because right off the bat, this thing it's really quite unique. I'm really enjoying it. The power distribution is great. Ooh, hazards. I'm gonna put my hazards on like they do in France. This thing feels like it wants to go, but it's not unmanageable. It is a narrow bike and it feels kind of small. Out here on the highway, it feels kind of small. I feel a bit more vulnerable than on other bikes of this size. You know what's funny? There's no windshield on here. There is no wind turbulence whatsoever, even behind this van and up on this raised highway. It's pretty windy today. Not that that locked windmill would give you any indication, but it's kind of windy today, and I'm not getting any uncomfortable buffeting today. This is a really interesting motorcycle. I'm going about 4,000 RPM, fourth gear, 44 miles an hour or so, just up on this raised highway in this controlled speed area. And it's a very comfortable bike. It's nimble as all hell. I mean, this thing, it's a naked bike, so I'm trying to think of what it's trying to be. Maybe the 500F from Honda. Maybe the wannabe naked bikes. It has a red trellis frame like my old Ducati Monster. 5,000 RPMs, fifth gear, 60 miles an hour. I'm in an average speed zone, so I really can't gun it like this guy. She's not very observant. But even at 60, there's no wind on this thing. Where is the wind? There's a vacuum here. I don't know what's creating this vacuum, but I don't know where the wind starts. There, up here, over my head. I'm not leaning forward all that much. Seating position's a bit weird. I'm definitely on the hocks of my ass there, and my feet come back a little. It's kind of in between a sporty rear set and a kind of middle set. I'm not on my wrists, I'm not on my feet. There's definitely points of contact at my hands and my feet, but I'm really sitting 100% right down on my ass. The seat is uncomfortable, and I'm sticking to it, so I can't slide around on it. I'm really kind of fixed into the seat, even though I think there's some room to go. Knees are right up against the tank, and I'm fascinated with this vacuum. This is what I was saying on my other videos when I was complaining about wind. And everyone's like, you don't have a windshield, you dumb moron. And I'm like, no shit, I don't have a windshield. But the way this bike is built, the way that the little headlight fairing and that little bump, and maybe it's the radiator down there, the exposed radiator that's going a bit wide. The tank's very narrow. I mean, there's wind there. I'm in this bubble. This is amazing. This is what I was talking about when I said wind management. Oh, I didn't even notice. I'm 70 miles an hour, fifth gear, sixth gear. Fuck me. There's a lot of torque at sixth gear, around 5,000 RPM. There's a little black square and an arrow at 5,000 RPM. I wonder if that is like their sweet spot. There's another black arrow, a black box and a white arrow at 10,000 RPM, which is redline. It does go up to 12,000 RPM, I guess, before the engine explodes. This thing is wicked. still the minimal wind at 78, 80 miles an hour. Where have you been all my life? It is really comfortable out on this highway. It's naked. This is the same engine in the V-Strom 650, and I've never really been attracted to the V-Strom 650 because of some of the design elements of it and the positioning of the exhaust system and the weight of it, and I really don't like that ugly frame it has on it. This thing has a different frame, but the V-Strom 650 has this engine. If it keeps the weight down, if it keeps the weight down near what this naked one is, even with all the fairings and stuff, this would be an extremely comfortable and capable tourer for long highway miles. Actually, I'm pretty forgiving about wind and uncomfortable seats, and this thing I think I could spend quite a bit of time on the highway. I mean, I am actually spending quite a bit of time on the highway. I should probably turn around and get off the highway at some point. I forgot I had to go back. I guess I have to go. Oops. I was supposed to go one exit on this highway and turn around and go back just to see how it fared on the highway. And I've gone like 10 miles. Shit. Oops. Anywho, it's really comfortable on the highway. Vibrations, let's see. There's a little vibration down in the seat. I can feel it coming kind of where I'm hugging the tank with my knees and going up under my butt into the seat. There's a vibration. That's where I notice the vibrations the most, is right in the seat of my pants. And if I hug the bike with my knees. It's a V-twin, so, you know, you have fore and aft pistons chugging away. Does have a kind of V-twin character to it, which on sportier bikes I never really bought into that idea, but this is quite comfortable, and the V-twin sound makes this bike sound really good. That twitchy clutch, this thing just wants to move. Like I said, it took a little getting used to. Brakes are tight. I thought I'd put the ABS on there. I didn't notice a red light there, but the ABS didn't activate. Didn't skid either, so that was good. This clutch. Now this is a twin. This is behaving like a twin, like a 650 twin. Listen to that. You can let these horses run. That's nice. I love the bikes that you can roll off the throttle and it relies on you to go. You can see I'm rolling on the accelerator, and then when I roll off the bike, it's like coming out of warp on a starship in the Star Trek universe. The engine braking is just, I like the interaction with my motorcycle. There's a lot of kind of vanilla motorcycles out there these days. You lose that interaction. I was having a conversation in the comment section of one of my videos about the DCT model on the Honda Africa Twin. The automatic transmission. In the age where most auto manufacturers announced the discontinuation of manual transmission cars and the dawn of usable automatic transmissions on motorcycles and the eve of electric where there is no gears to speak of, we're having this debate about what it's like to be a pure motorcycle experience. And it's not that. For me, I don't care about a pure motorcycle experience because I think you can have an awesome experience on most motorcycles because motorcycles are inherently cool and fun. It takes a lot of work to make them not fun, and I feel like there's a lot of manufacturers working really hard at that at the moment. It's not about losing a pure motorcycle experience, it's about control. And that drop, that engine brake drop, just by coming off the throttle, that interaction with the motorcycle, that is what the experience for me is about. And I did not expect to have that experience on this Suzuki. I'm just cruising along on this highway, just completely comfortable. Little vibration now in the handlebars at 5,700 RPM, 61 miles an hour. Little vibration in the hands, but not disturbing. I'm gonna mention it just because I'm looking for things to mention. But really, I'm having a cracking time on this bike. This bike is fun. It's spirited. When I talk about bikes with character, this bike has a serious character. It's not pretty to look at. I'm not attracted to it. If I was to see it sitting in a line of bikes parked up on the road, I'd ignore it. But I'd also, I say that, I would ignore my Phaser 600, my FZ6. And really, ignoring it doesn't do it justice. I think the people who buy this bike, similar to the FZ6, similar to the CB500X, I think the people who buy this bike would be the ones to stop and admire it when it's lined up next to other more handsome motorcycles. And that, I think, you can tell someone who knows about motorcycles or who knows about nice, characterful, kind of secret sleeper bikes. If you see someone admiring this bike, they know something. Keep your eye out next time you're walking past the park up and see who's admiring the SV650. See who's riding the XV650. And if you see someone riding an SV650, introduce them to the guy riding the CB500X and the old Phaser 600. Because they're all kith and kin, man. This bike is awesome. I'm just cruising along 60 miles an hour in this average speed check controlled speed zone. I was able to open up a little back there, but this bike is just so comfortable. I should have gotten off the highway already again too, so that's a little telling. Suspension's comfortable. Last couple of bikes I've been riding, the suspension has been really stiff, pretty uncomfortable. This one's actually quite supple. It's not too supple that I feel like I'm gonna lose control if I want to be a bit sporty on it. There's a really nice, I don't know if you can hear it over the highway noise and the wind and my prattling on, but I really like the sound of it underneath me. It's low, it's a low sound. It's a high revving, low tone, if that makes sense. It does feel compact. I was going to say it feels small, but I don't know if small is the right word. Small sounds a bit disparaging to it. It feels compact. That compactness in these close quarters, I feel a little vulnerable, but there is quite a lot of bike behind me. I just reached back to feel. There's quite a lot of bike behind me, but I do love that. And that coming off of the engine, that natural engine braking. There's some added value to this bike that I didn't expect. The dual discs up front. I was talking to a friend of mine down in Hampshire. We're always looking for the next bike to buy, and we're looking at these bikes, and you can see where the budget is. You can see where the corners are cut, and usually you can tell right off the bat that if it has a single disc up front, it's going to be a more affordable, maybe, Moto Guzzi Stone V7, not so affordable single disc. But you can see what I'm getting at. The budget starts with stripping things off. Yeah, the bike will stop with one disc. Let's take the disc off. I like that this has two discs on it. One, because this thing cooks, and that extra stopping power is nice. Yeah, that engine braking, that shudder forward, that's really quite nice. With all this smooth slipper clutch technology, you lose some of that motorcycle character. And I do like being able to engine brake. Just that interaction I'm talking about. It's like you're having a conversation. You're working together as a team. It's not a fight. It's not hard work. This bike is not hard work. But you can really run it through its paces. That is refreshing. That's so refreshing. Spent my whole ride out on the highway. I'm sure that's really entertaining for my viewers. Sorry, it was entertaining for me. That's so fun. You gotta be careful with it though. I am impressed with my first Suzuki, so much so that I would entertain trying more out. I'm definitely gonna try more out. This is eye-opening. You know, I've prioritized Japanese bikes in my head. Yamaha has been my favorite, mostly because I've owned lots of Yamahas, and they were the first bikes I've owned, and had really good luck with the Yamahas. Had a couple of Hondas. I still don't feel, I know people think Honda is better, but you know, think people who ride Hondas are a bit loyal. And if you take the Pepsi Challenge with Yamaha and you had an open mind, you might be swayed to go Yamaha. But I think Yamaha and Honda are definitely the Ford Chevy argument on a motorcycle level. And then Suzuki and Kawasaki really were on par with each other, but really not a consideration at all for me. But if I was to prioritize Kawasaki and Suzuki, it would be Suzuki and then Kawasaki. But I have a friend who's a motorcycle mechanic, and he is devout in his commitment to his Ninja. So maybe this getting a suggestion to ride the Suzuki and having my eyes open to that, maybe I have to go a bit further and try the Kawasaki's, because I've been getting some requests to try some Kawasaki's out. But like I said, not convenient. You can't find a Kawasaki dealer very easily. I mean, even I was at the show and they were like, here's a list of our dealers. They couldn't even tell me where there was a dealer in London. So it's going to take some effort. But if it's anything like this, I think it's going to be worth the effort. I'm definitely going to try one of the GSXRs. The GSXR is one of those cult bikes, you know. And maybe there's a reason there's a cult. It's comfortable at low speed. The clutch is getting a bit heavy on my hand, I have to say. Because of the pull on this clutch lever that I was showing you at the stoplights, it is getting a bit heavy on my hand. My hand's getting tired. That's a bit concerning. I've been on the bike about an hour, and this hand is now tired. Not tired in my forearm where I normally get tired. It's just in my fingers. Fingers are tired. So even if I spent a lot of time kind of conditioning that, I think there'd still be some fatigue. My butt hurts now too after being on an hour. I didn't notice it so much out on the highway because I was having so much fun. But really, the muscly part of my butt it's like 2 points of pressure because the seat's rather narrow at the front where my butt's hitting it. But these are all, I'm looking for things to talk about, guys. I'm looking for things to say so you know going into it what to expect if you're looking at this bike. Even if you're not looking at this bike, you should be looking at this bike. This bike is a cracking bike. This bike is a no compromise midweight. The only compromise is its looks. It's ugly. It's ugly. You know, they make naked bikes so that you see the workings and the mechanics and all that stuff. But the more technology you have to add to bikes to meet certain government criteria, the less it looks nice without fairings. Even just a little kind of scoop fairing hiding that television set of a radiator down there would make this a little better. And if I was to drop this bike, or if anyone was to drop this bike, you have to replace that radiator right out of the bat. And these big ugly coolant hoses coming off the sides like big ugly worms. There's a lot to be said about the aesthetics of a motorcycle. I'm more drawn to the aesthetics than I am to the functionality. I have to be attracted to the bike first before I want to ride it. If I was a blind man choosing motorcycles purely out of performance, this one would be at the top of the list. I don't know why I'd be a blind man riding a motorcycle though. If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.